In this video, we will explore new tiling features of version 12.1. I will start by opening a file into Job Editor. Once in Job Editor, I can access the Tiling tab. To begin, I will enable Tiling, and now I can see I have my Tiling Setup tab and my Tiling Marks tab active. The next step will be to go to the Preview and Size tab and adjust for the proper roll size we're using on our printer. I am using a 36-inch roll. I'll select that and click OK. Now I can see the automatic tile line appear on my image file. I'll return to the Tiling Setup tab, and now I can make my adjustments for my tile panels. For my 36-inch roll printer, I can see that I have a maximum width of 35.78 inches. The tiling software automatically adjusted 2 columns to compensate for these panels, and we can notice in the default tile, the width is set to the 35.78 maximum size for each panel. In this case, I can have 2 tiles of my columns that'll accommodate the 35.78 inches. However, if I wanted to adjust this and make custom sizes, I can adjust this up here in the Columns tab. Number of tiles, and I can indicate individual column amounts by arrowing up or swiping the number and typing in a value. By indicating the number of columns, the software will automatically evenly divide the sizes to come up with a total amount of columns. I can also adjust this by rows. I'll reset this back to 2 columns. Additional controls to include bleed and trim would actually activate to include the finishing bleed and trim features. So I'm going to go into the Finishing tab, and in my Finishing tab, if I had bleed enabled, and if I indicated a bleed amount, and furthermore, if I indicated a trim amount, these additional feature sets would be included in my tiling. I'll return to the Tiling tab, and now we can see the effects of Include Bleed and Trim. As I disable this checkbox, you'll notice the tile line markers are adjusting. Including bleed and trim will directly relate to our Finishing tab and take into consideration the bleed and the trim box settings. I'm going to reset those back to 0 and disable my image bleed and return to tiling. We can also include overlap. The controls for overlap are below in the Overlap Tile section. Here I can indicate an amount to overlap, and we can see in our preview an immediate reflection of that overlap. By entering a 1-inch overlap, we're going to have a 1-inch split left and right, which will be a 1/2 inch image overlapping on the left and the right side of our tile markers. This will allow us to line up our subject matter by content visually. If I activate Weld Overlap, a portion of that 1-inch overlap becomes non-printing or non-imageable. This would be used if the ink on media is interfering with the weld process. In some cases, we need to enable Weld Overlap to make a non-printing area in that overlap so that the weld may adhere or take. In the Tile Marks tab, we can control the type of marks we would like to indicate on this print. Tile overlap marks, we can control top, bottom, left, and right. This mark shows you where the tile overlap begins and ends to make it easy to overlap and align your tiles. Further controls for the overlap marks are underneath our Configure Mark setting. We can control the type of line, meaning a solid line, black or white, and we have thickness controls. A dotted line, black or white, with thickness controls, and line length and gap line controls. Or an alternative line, where we are going to produce black, white lines alternatively. We can control our thickness and again our line length and gap amounts. All three of these line types can be controlled to print in the image area, bleed area, or trim area as necessary. The zero line tile marks. This option prints a black crosshair with a white inner portion in the middle of the tile overlap area. These marks show the center point of each tile, allowing you to accurately place tiles. Zero line marks for crop will define the area of your image that will not be printed. Zero line for sewing will allow you to add accurate marks for your job for folding and hemming after the job's been printed. In either case, we're able to control where these marks are placed based on top, bottom, left, and right. And again, our mark option settings are the same, where we can control a solid line, black or white, dotted line, black or white, alternative, black, white, and also we can control our thicknesses and our line lengths and gaps. Furthermore, we can control where these marks are going to be placed within the image area, bleed area, or trim area. One more feature of our tiling setup is to submit tiles as separate jobs. When we activate this checkbox, we're going to receive an ocean tile panel job for column 1, as well as column 2, as well as column 3. These will appear in our RIP as 3 separate job panels. Should we decide to turn on the Submit Tiles as Separate Jobs checkbox, we must keep in mind that back in our RIP software, if we are using the placement strategy and having the checkbox on to flip every other tile, this will not take effect because each of the tiles are separate jobs. It doesn't see it as one composite job made up of multiple tiles. So keep this in mind. If it's important for you to have the checkbox on for flip every other tile, then in that case, you would not have the checkbox on to submit tiles as separate jobs. This will conclude our presentation on tiling setup features. For more information, please visit our website at onyxgfx.com. Thank you.